Welcome back to another episode of Collider Rebels Recap. It's our recap show all about Star Wars Rebels. Joining me today, he is the Grand Moff Griffin. David Griffin, what's up, man?
I'm much happy to be here. Just doing the two of us today.
It's just the two of us. Yeah, John Campia not able to be here today, but we are going to be talking about the latest episode of Rebels. That's why you're watching. That's what we do here. David, start us off with obviously the title of the show, but what you really enjoyed about this particular episode, if you did at all, and let's kind of break it down.
So we have the future of the Force. The future, the young kids, the Inquisitors are out. You have fifth brother and seventh sister. A lot of new information being revealed. A lot of little things. A lot of possible rankings, of the Inquisitors. Saying fifth brother said, you question me, seventh sister. So I'm assuming they're ranked, maybe 1 through however many there are. So that was kind of interesting to learn. And of course, seeing Asoka back in the action because she's been out, getting information. We found out that she's on the mustafar system, learning about communications. We don't know really what's going on in Mustafar right now.
Right.
Trying to find out more information about the Dark Lord. So I'm curious too to know, does that mean that she doesn't know who Darth Vader is? Because she had kind of played dumb when Kanan asked like how much information that she's gathered. She's like, I don't know much about him, but I'm learning more about his Inquisitors. So I mean, there's a lot of new information being revealed this
and you
week.
dug it.
Oh, I dug it. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, for me, it was my favorite episode of the season, hands down. And for a lot of the reasons that you just said, I think that the information we got and what it also, the main thing is that, and we talked about this last week, they've been doing like these side stories to develop a lot of the characters, which I thought they've been doing well for a lot of the episodes, but we haven't really been focusing a lot on the main story. We're definitely doing the main story in this episode, and the concern that I had last week that was solved was, where are the Inquisitors? What's happening with the Inquisitors? Well, we get that. We've got that in this one, and it's great that they are continuing. And this is the thing that makes Dave Filoni, as talented as he is that he's able to, and it also shows with the brand new canon and the way that everything kind of connects in the Star Wars world, is that Dave Filoni likes to, him and George Lucas were really the granddaddies of the Clone Wars series that ran for 6 seasons. There was a lot of great mythology set up in that series. So to bring back the fact that these kids are being stolen, these Force-sensitive kids, that was a big storyline in the Clone Wars when Cad Bane did it for Palpatine. And now they're off and they're doing it again. It looks like there's a little bit more success happening here with like you said, the fifth brother and the seventh sister here. Yeah. But it was all about the showdown in this episode. Asoka, we saw it in the preview, but when we see, and you said it before we went on air here, is I was like, it was almost reminiscent to when Darth Maul popped out.
Yeah, the doors open. You see the silhouette. She comes out, and she just looks. And I love to see the white lightsabers that she has. Yeah, the dual white lightsabers.
It was cool to see a good guy show up like that.
Yeah,
because I did speak to Campy about this. Or he liked the episode. I don't think he loved it as much as you and I did, but he liked it. I think he said one of the problems he had was with the fight was that the fifth brother and seventh sister put up too much of a fight. And see, I thought there were 2 of them, and they were really, like, she's not as powerful as Vader, but she's powerful. And I don't think they even got any licks in. I thought she kicked their ass.
Oh, she did. I mean, 2 against 1?
Yeah, and she was kind of smacking them up. And like just at one point, she's like, okay, I'm done here. And she's just throwing them. And they had no chance.
Right. I mean, if she wanted to kill him, she could have, but it's just not in her nature, too.
Right.
I also want to talk a little bit about just the beginning of the episode, is how menacing the Inquisitors are when they go on that ship. I mean, granted, we talk about how this is still a kid show. It's got to appeal to kids and adults at the same time. But I mean, they basically slaughtered everybody on that ship. Yep. Now, you don't see it. You just see fifth brother throw his lightsaber at Troy and Troy, but you have to assume everybody's dead. Except for the grandma, seems like she might be alive, but everybody else is dead.
I don't know. She might be toast
died too. We just didn't see her actually die.
But that's a great point. And I think that's one of the things, though, you don't have to show it. The same way you didn't show when the Grand Inquisitor cut off the 2 guards' heads in season 1. You certainly knew it happened, but you didn't see it, and you didn't need to see it. But it shows that it can go there, and it shows that they're not going to be like, okay, we're going to let you guys live, because that's not what Inquisitors and certainly what students of Darth Vader would do, and they didn't do that. And so I did enjoy that a lot. I also enjoyed the one, I mean, we'll talk about it in a second, thing I didn't like. But as far as I also liked seeing Kanan and Zeb again. I like the fact that they're just like, bring Zeb. He's handled the Inquisitors before, and it's like, okay, if Ahsoka's saying that, then he's got the stamp of approval. So I like the dynamic between the team It's really there, and there's just something about this episode. I think the biggest compliment we always give these episodes when we really like them is it felt a lot like Star Wars.
Yeah, I wish that. I mean, because Rex was so much fun last week with Kanan, I wish Rex could have gone on the mission with them. But it's almost like a video game. You're playing in like this massive multiplayer. Like you pick your cast of characters. I'm going to pick the wizard and this guy.
But
week.
I want to bring Rex.
I know, bring everybody.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
So, also too, the stuff with the kids was cool, and just seeing how Ezra was trying to learn how to be calm. It's like, why is the baby panicking? It's because he's force sensitive.
He can sense your
fears. It was a little bit interesting. I don't want to say this is a weakness, but that Kanan didn't come on to it sooner. The idea of why they'd be picking up, why would they want these kids? Like, I think right away, because he knows how the Jedi operate. They get kids when they're very young, so they can bring them up in the ways of the Jedi. But it seems like it took him a second to get that.
It did, for sure. But the other thing that I did like, though, and bringing in the sense of humor when it works, was the Zeb stuff with the kids. I thought that was really clever. I thought it was cute, the fact that there's just something about it. He knows how to find these kids, and he did it. And I also, Chopper's ruthless, man. Chopper wanted to blow up the TIE fighter with the baby in it. And he's like, no, we can't do that with the baby in it. But I thought that, like, the team dynamic, bringing it back to that, everything really worked with this particular episode with that. But I want to know, I also love the line to where when the seventh sister says to Asoka, Lord Vader's going to be happy with your capture. And you're at one point, I'm like, wait a minute, is she going to get captured here? And then when the ship pulls up, I'm like, okay, no, she's going to get away. And they did. And then that line where it looks like the Inquisitors are going to be able to track them down and find out where there is and where the planet is. It's like, okay, things are starting to come ahead. That was my point with the main storyline is moving along here. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the show's getting better. I know we could critique some of the episodes before the last few where they've been a little slow, a little bit. But again, we're only getting like 25 minutes a week, so we're not getting enough. But these last 2 weeks have been some of the best of the season. Besides the Siege of Lothal, these last 2 episodes have been my favorite of season 2 so far.
All right, so those are the things that we really enjoyed about the show. Now, there are a couple of things that we probably didn't like. David, let's start with you again. So as far as the things you didn't like in this particular episode.
Talk about Ezra just being kind of an idiot, talking about like, hey, you want to come live with us on blah, 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 blah. It's like, who says that? It's like, hey, you want to come live with me in this exact location? Granted, he did know there was a droid behind him, getting that information, but it just seemed like a little too convenient that he would say exactly the planet that they're living on, at the time. So I don't know, that part seemed a little bit too convenient for me.
That was the only thing?
No, I actually really enjoyed this episode. I didn't find a lot of weaknesses with it.
I agree with you. I think that it was just the way they're figuring out in the story room. We're like, okay, we've got to find a way for the Inquisitors to find them. How about Dopey Ezra says it as loud as he can with the baby in his hand that of what planet they should come visit. So
maybe they thought like the tracking device, it's been used too much. Like they put a tracking device. Everybody uses a tracking device. It's been used too much.
So and the thing I think that what bothered me the most about that is that he was so wide and open when he said it. Like if he had said it in like a little hallway or something, or like even in like one of those vents as they were climbing through, and the droid was in the vent, then I'm okay. Well, he's dopey enough to say that, but I can understand why he's in a vent.
Because the baby doesn't need to know the exact location. No, you could say, let's go live on Coruscant. He's not going to know the difference.
And not only is a baby, it's an alien baby. He doesn't know what the hell you're saying. So overall, I think that was a bit silly. And the other thing that you had brought up earlier as well, too, was the fact that Kanan probably should have caught on to this stuff a little bit earlier. But, we also forget that Kanan's only tapped back into being a Jedi over the last year or so. Last like 5 years or so, like since Hera brought him back with what we learned in New Dawn.
It was an interesting line that when they were meeting, when Kanan and Asoka were meeting in the beginning, he said, "Oh, this is for Jedi ears only," or something like that. Right. And I think she said, "Yeah, you more than me," talking to Kanan. And I was like, wait, I would assume Asoka would be more the Jedi, even though I know Asoka left.
I think that's why. I think that's exactly why. Because I thought when that happened, I said, oh yeah, because she was starting to question the Jedi, because we just did our commentary on all three of the prequels. Myself, John Campea, John Schnepp, and Mark Ellis, and throughout that we were all saying the Jedi for the most part, until it was too late, were pretty dopey.
Yeah.
Like they misjudged things. They didn't see things. They just like Mace Windu couldn't just totally dismissed that Count Dooku could be involved. He's like, he's a Jedi. He wouldn't do such things. And then in the Clone Wars, when they just blamed Ahsoka for blowing up the temple, they did a lot of dopey things. So I understand Ahsoka going, they don't know what they're doing. Like, I've lost faith in them. I quit. So when she did that, she's not part. It was the same thing like when Obi-Wan said, "You'll be expelled from the Jedi Order."
Yeah.
Like that, it's like that. You once you're gone, you're not a Jedi anymore. So she understands that he was, because Kanan was never expelled. Kanan never officially left. They were all killed. So he went on the run. So that did make sense, and I thought that was true to form as far as the mythology and the history of what we've learned so far.
Also, I'm curious about the let's call them the younglings, as Yoda refers to them. So, by the time, again, I know the canon's changed. We're getting new comic books and new books that are coming out, new mythologies starting. But we know, like in A New Hope, that it's pretty much Luke and there's Leia, in Empire Strikes Back. Yoda says, "No, there is another," or something like that when he goes off and finds his friends. But you wonder about the younglings, like, are they just going to like be protected and not trained? Because I know the Jedi Order is no more. Or some of these kids, maybe we're going to see early formations of them trying to train. Maybe something happens and the kids are wiped out in the future. But I want to know, like, are these Force-sensitive kids just going to be taken care of? Or is someone going to try to train them? Like, are they going to try to rebuild the Jedi Order, even though we know from A New Hope that maybe that doesn't happen?
No, it's a good point. Because, I mean, look, we should never just assume that there are not Force-sensitive people out there, because
kids are still being born,
right? Because Yoda said there was only one left. Last of the Jedi you will be. That's the Jedi Order. Now, as far your question is valid as far as where did these kids that we just learned yesterday, what happens to them? Do they get captured, and have they been trained as Inquisitors throughout their reign? Like, does this eventually lead into what we know as Knights of Ren? What happened to those kids? Or are they, like you said, are they just kind of sent on their way and they just live being Force sensitive? So it's very interesting to see where that's all going to go down and how they're going to handle in Rebels. And what I will say is that, and this again comes from watching the prequels and doing our commentary on it, was I had said something yesterday, Revenge of the Sith, and the fans let me know about it immediately. I always assumed from watching 6 seasons of the Clone Wars that Anakin had fought General Grievous, like they had a battle before, because and I was like, well, that kind of is silly, because in Revenge of the Sith they act like they've met for the first time. Dave Filoni apparently was very aware of all that, and in the actual Clone Wars they never have a face-to-face and they never have a battle. So I bring that up because Dave Filoni is very aware. And they're all aware of the mythology that was set before them. So they know that they can't have a full-fledged Jedi out in the open while Obi-Wan's out there and while Luke's being trained. So I am very curious to see where it goes.
It's crazy how much stuff was brought up by this episode. A short episode, of course, usual runtime, but there was a lot of things being brought up, with Ahsoka and these kids and the Inquisitors, the rankings. Maybe there's a ranking. Maybe we'll see more Inquisitors this season. There's still a lot going on, and we're maybe a couple more weeks away from the mid-season finale and before the next half next year. And so there's a lot happening right now.
Well, that brings us to our next segment here, as far as what we hope to see next. What's going to happen throughout the rest of the season? Now that this has been set up, I'll go first here, and for me, it's the same thing that we've been set up since the Siege of Lothal. It's, when is that Vader and Ahsoka thing going down? Dave Filoni just had an interview recently to where he was talking about the mid-season finale, which airs apparently not next week but the week after, and he said the last 5 minutes nobody knows about, even on his own crew or anything too, and it's going to blow your mind. And so far, anytime he has said that,
trust him,
he's delivered. So I think that's going to happen again. Now, I still think the Emperor is going to pop in there. I think something's going to happen there with the Emperor. I think we're going to get a lot more of the overall plan, the mythology, why the Empire is going after these Force-sensitive kids. I think Cad Bane's going to come back as well. Now, whether or not that happens in a mid-season finale, I have no idea. But we are going to have a lot more that has to go down, and I think that those episodes we were talking about before that were kind of the shorter episodes, but kind of not leading into, or not I don't want to say furthering the full story, because I think those smaller episodes that some might think are filler are actually going to serve the story more. Even the Hera episode where she learned more and got the B-wing and Sabine, I think that her friend will come back to. I think it'll all add into the second half of this season, which is going to be pretty powerful stuff.
Right.
What about you? What do you think is going to happen?
I'm curious to see when the Inquisitors are going to attack. You know, if they know the location of where they're hiding out, you know, what roles they're going to play. I want to see how much Ezra's matured. He got whooped this week.
Yeah.
I mean, the Seven Sisters said, "I don't have time for you, boy," and just threw him up against the wall, launched him against the wall. I mean, I thought he maybe had a little more in him.
He did have a baby in his hand.
He did. That's true. That's true. It's hard to have the baby and do that. But I want to see how what he can do when they attack. Maybe Asoka won't be around to save them next time.
Right.
You know, can Ezra and Kanan take on those two Inquisitors, you know, and I think that's also going to bring out some more Inquisitors that we're going to see.
That was one of the other things that I was kind of irked by a little bit, was that I know that Ezra was like, she's fine on her own. Kanan shouldn't have left Asoka.
Yeah.
Kanan should have stuck around and fought them off together, because I just didn't buy that Kanan would leave her behind, even though she's doing good on her own.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what if she isn't?
Right.
You know, it's like you take the baby and Zeb. I'm the Jedi here.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight with her. That was the one thing I didn't really understand why Kanan left, but that's fine. Now it is all about you guys. What do you think is going to happen leading up, especially in the mid-season finale, but overall for the second half of season 2? Did you like this episode? Did you not like it? What were some of your favorite moments? Make sure that, just like you have been in the weeks before, please comment. Tell us exactly what your thoughts are, and please click like here and share these videos as well too. I'd like to thank the man sitting on my left here. He is the Grand Moff Griffin. David, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at GriffinDE. Don't forget, check out, got the Flash Arrow crossover stuff going on right now. So with a Flash recap show, we did an awesome show last night. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, so stay tuned for that.
And for me, you can find me at Kristian Harloff on both Twitter and Instagram, as well as Collider Jedi Council. Tomorrow's episode is going to be really fun. Tiffany Smith will actually not be there this week. She's going to be on next week, but we're going to have myself, Mark Ellis, John Campia, and John Schnepp. So make sure you tune in for that episode tomorrow. And as always, please, every week here on Wednesday, right after the episode of Rebels goes up, you can find us here. If you haven't subscribed already, you should do that. Click like. You know the rest.